you know why you're here, Evey Hammond? You're being formally charged with conspiracy to commit treason, terrorism, and sedition, the penalty for which is death by firing squad. You have one chance, and only one chance, to save your life. You must tell us the identity or whereabouts of Codename V. Do you understand what I'm telling you?
Yes.
Are you ready to cooperate?
No.
The truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country.
Excuse me, miss.
I'm sorry.
Not yet, you're not. But you will be. The only verdict is vengeance. A vendetta. If our own government was responsible for the deaths of 100,000 people, you really want to know?
You're getting back at them for what they did to you.
What was done to me was monstrous.
And they created a monster.
Fear became the ultimate tool of this government.
I want this country to realize that we stand on the edge of oblivion. I want everyone to remember why they need us.
I wish I wasn't afraid all the time.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Government should be afraid of their people. It is you.
Several prominent party members have been murdered, Chief Inspector.
This is exactly what he wants.
What?
Chaos. Beneath this mask, there's more than flesh. There is an idea, Mr. Creakley, and ideas are bulletproof. Remember the 5th of November.
All right. Remember the 5th of November. It's finally here, everybody. We are doing V for Vendetta, the 2005 film by James Matigue. Screenplay is by the Wachowskis, and it is based on the 88 graphic novel or comic book series by David Lloyd and Alan Moore. It's set in a dystopian Britain, where the government is very totalitarian. There's a whole bunch of parallels drawn to pretty much any oppressive regime you could, name. And it's unfortunately seeming to still ring true to this day. So without getting too far into the plot, what do you guys, this is everybody, we've all seen this movie before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So real quick, V goes, he blows up some buildings, starts riots, gets some revenge, Edmond Dante's shit, and dies at the end, leaves it in the hands of the next gen. He does a lot of bad shit, kills a lot of people. Is V a good person? Let's start with Isaac, but I'm curious to hear what everybody has to say.
It's just a revenge, dude. He wanted that revenge and get those people who created this whole regime and this whole, because he's doing it out of the goodness of his heart to stop that continuous being under the government's thumb. So in my opinion, he was a good guy because he was taking out the bad guys.
Nice. Nate, what do you got?
I didn't see him kill anybody who didn't ask for it in some capacity. Maybe not to the level of like, you flicked my elbow, now I'm going to kill you. So maybe some of them didn't deserve to die, but I didn't see him just, blatantly kill anybody innocent. Now, there might have been some collateral damages from the explosions and whatnot. People going out into the street to, oh, look at, they're playing Beethoven. Blam! A brick to the face from an exploding building. But they didn't go into detail with that. So that could have been that's in periphery. As far as what you see, the actual actions of what's happening, he went and got the people who did him wrong, and then went after the system. So, there might have been some collateral damage, but the lens wasn't on it, so I don't think he was a bad guy.
Nice. I'm inclined to feel the same way about that. With him and Evey, they're like such a cute couple, right? Like Jay-Z, Beyonce sort of shit. Are they like the ultimate couples goals or what? What do you guys think of that?
I always
the couple in the group.
This movie is the most romantic movie I've ever watched. Best Valentine's Day movie ever.
Yeah, once you get past the torture.
I love it. I love that romance.
I mean, you have to remember, he tortured her for months. For months.
She asked for him to, though.
Yeah.
A certain point
about
of
the
view,
torture, was it justified? I mean, she wanted to live without fear. She wanted to change.
Well, if you take a pragmatic view of things, then sure, it was justified. But ultimately, I don't think that torturing anybody is justified. You have to get people to accept, to embrace their fear without having to waterboard them.
Well, think of it this way: if he wouldn't have got her and done his torture to her, the other side would have done it to her and just killed her.
Sure.
He did this out of the kindness of his own heart. Nothing that he hasn't gone through.
Right on.
Whether or not he was actually a good guy or not. I don't think that he was a good guy, but he met out justice. You can be a not a good guy and still serve justice.
No, justice is meted out by a righteous government. The problem in V for Vendetta is the government is not righteous. And when a government is in that kind of a position, what you do is you foster bitterness and resentment in the populace, and V becomes the avatar of that bitterness and resentment. And that ends up just being nothing but retribution, or a vendetta, as it were.
I think you can just classify him as the protagonist. You don't necessarily have to classify him as a good guy. I think he's the protagonist. He's the one that pushes the story forward, and I think that's the point. And I think that's a great question to ask. Is he a good guy or not? I think it depends on where you stand. And as far as the torture goes, I mean, I honestly saw a lot of similarities. I've seen some Army and Marine training. Look like a lot of the same crud that they put those people through. So it's almost like, I don't know. I drew those same parallels because I've seen some documentaries like that, and they do some pretty gnarly shit to those people in the name of getting rid of their fear so that they're not scared to go to war. It's kind of like that's what I saw. That's how I interpreted that. She became a soldier, essentially.
They enlisted for that.
Yeah.
She didn't.
But didn't she?
Well,
Didn't she though?
If you're looking for the hero of the story, you could say that Evey is the hero of the story, but I almost think Inspector Finch is the hero of the story. That even though he's kind of deeply involved with the party, he's still the one that's trying to pursue truth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because at the end of it, it's both them just standing there allowing it to happen.
Mm-hmm. And in that respect, because Finch is a representative of the government, what he does is justice. Not what V does, but what he does, because he's actually what little righteousness is left in the government.
Right. I gotta agree with that. And I think in the book it's a lot more explicit. He has that speech on top of the building where he's talking to the justice, the justice statue with the scales and all that, and he was saying how he used to love justice, but it's failed him in so many different ways that he can no longer respect that.
And the way those panels are set up too, doesn't it look like a V?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
David,
I mean, that's one of those things. Yeah, that's something they do in the comic book that makes it very distinct too. So.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the just the overall look and feel of this movie? For me, it didn't exactly feel like a comic book movie, but was there anything that like stood out as particularly bad, or maybe something that was like, wow, that looked really awesome? I know this is kind of a little bit of an older movie, but I'd like to hear what you guys say. Nate, what you got for us?
It didn't look to me like they used any type of. It was all sets, so it just went from like a room to a room. It felt kind of like that newest Mortal Kombat that they did, where it was obviously filmed during the pandemic, and they just took 5 people who they had already quarantined from room to room and shot different things in these rooms. It didn't seem like there was any place that had any other than the very end where all the masked people were swarming to the front. Aside from that, it was all contained within 4 walls. Like every scene was just boxed in. It felt very claustrophobic, in my opinion.
That's interesting. I hadn't noticed that, but now, like, thinking back, now that you pointed that out, that's really true. Interesting.
I just have like one little thing.
Yeah.
Is because I looked at Josh when that happened, and it hit me, and I was like, how does Evey have access to Prothero's private bathroom when you scan her security card? I mean, it's just a small little thing, but I was like, why does she have access to like high security, the #1 guy on TV? He's just like, fuck it. It scans her card and it just gets to access to like the guy's like personal private like bathroom area.
Evey's a trans hero. Evey is a trans hero, and she hasn't turned into Jose yet when this movie was made.
Gotcha.
I just thought all the pretty girls had access to his bathroom.
Can we just point out how awesome Natalie Portman was to cut her hair like that, like go straight up bald? That's like, that chick's beautiful, and she was still beautiful as a baldie.
Definitely.
I think for Hollywood, that was an easy virtue signal.
I don't follow.
It's something that you can do. It's gonna grow back. You know, especially if she's got like half her hair has half the intestinal fortitude that Liz's does. It would be back within 2 months. She'll be having dreadlocks. But you guys watched this movie when it came out, right?
Yeah.
There was so much in the press junkets about like, look at her, look what she did, look at her, look what she did, oh my God, it was so brave, look at her, look what she did, look at her, look what she did. I don't know if that's anything because she was seeking to get that attention, but when I was watching that, when that movie was coming out, I was seeing way more about that than I was about the story or, you know, oppressive regimes or anything like that. It's like, it's a movie where a beautiful chick gets her haircut. Like, that could just be
a big deal. That's a big deal. It may not be a big deal for guys because guys are just like, you know, you shave your head down, it's no big deal. You know what I mean? Like, I live with a guy where it's not a big deal. I don't know about the rest of you, but for a girl to have that long hair and like that, it's a big deal. I've contemplated shaving my head one time, and that's just because I was pissed off that it was so freaking long and heavy and it hurt my head. Like, if this stuff doesn't get cut, I'm shaving it and it will grow back. But it's a big deal to just shave your head like that. Britney Spears, that crap, man. Even she was like crazy when that happened.
She went crazy though. She went like.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's the thing.
You have to go completely crazy, or
torture.
You know, you're playing the role and you're willing to go that far for it, which I think is also kind of crazy.
I'll bet when she's getting her head shaved that she's really crying.
Oh, she is. When you watch the behind the scenes, she said that's really her crying because it's traumatic for a woman to lose her hair. It is. I'm sorry.
A woman's hair is her glory.
Yeah, because her hair didn't grow back for a while, and she was bald in like 2 other movies, or she was super short hair in 2 other movies. I remember.
Yeah. It's a big deal.
Speaking of big deals, I think one of the most powerful scenes in the movie was the Valerie story. I don't know if you were all affected by that, but what we've all like seen like probably 100,000 times a different tragic story. You know, oh love, oh sad. You know, like why was this one different? Why did this one hit a little bit harder? I'm not sure if anybody has any thoughts because I'm really not sure myself.
It's just highly emotional. That's all it is. It's just high. You see that she had tragic love from day one when her first story starts. You know, with her first girlfriend and her second girlfriend and her, you know what I mean? Like, it just was kind of like going, and then she finally found the peace, and then, bam, this nonsense happens, and wrong place, wrong time. If it was, you know, if this love story took place 50 years ago, you know, they would have had some hurdles, but nothing like the regime would have brought about. I don't know. It's just highly. I think what it is that she's forgiving. That a lot of people can't go through all of that and not forgive and forget what's been done to them. She was, well, you know, she forgave. And you know, she knew what her fate was, but she still forgave everything and everyone. And up to that point, you know, I think that was the big thing. It's hard to forgive when you've been through so much stuff for no other reason than just wanting to live, you know what I mean? To be. And then she forgave. And then she died.
And then she ends it with how she loves that person, whoever it is that's reading that story. That was all powerful. Like, you've heard my story and I love you and I don't even know you, but
on the fact that it went to be. That's the other thing, is that it went to you know, door number 5. So he was the one. And now, again, that's not by chance. That wasn't by coincidence that he was the one that read it, understood it, and sought vengeance for her. I think he was probably the first person he sought vengeance for.
And the question is, was she number 4 or number 6?
Yeah, because it's the cell next door.
It had to be the cell next door.
It was number 6.
Yeah.
It was where the rat went in and the rat left. It depends on which way the halls were going, though, too.
Yeah. What if she was 7? Odds and evens, depending on which side of the wall.
No, it went down. It didn't go down.
Did it go?
It went down.
Just throwing confusion in there. Sorry, guys. She was 6.
You made us think. Dang it.
Hey, crossover. It was Ratatouille. Ratatouille wrote that for her. It was a recipe.
Oh man. Right on. Well, let's get down into the ratings. This one's kind of all over the place. Metacritic gives it like a 62 or a 1. The Rotten Tomatoes has it at like an 8. Sorry, I'm pulling it up right now. 73 on Rotten Tomatoes, and on IMDb we've got 8.1.
What about Walmart? Where's the Walmart score? That's
Walmart.com doesn't have this one, unfortunately. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, they don't want the masses getting influenced and wanting to revolt.
That's right. But I think this is an easy 5 out of 5 movie for me. This is an easy Lego 10. We've been wanting to watch this one for a while. But I guess we'll just go down in the order I see you guys. Nate, Josh, Liz, Isaac, and we'll close it out with Jose. What are you guys' ratings?
I'm gonna go with the 8.
8.
It's a high 8, but it I don't know. This movie doesn't have the gravitas for me that it does for you guys. It's not a bad movie, but it's not the kind of thing. This is the second time I watched it, and you know, it almost felt like the first time because I watched it before, but I was like doing something before while I was watching it, And there was times where it seemed like it was trying really hard. I think I've got a thing, and you guys could probably attest to this, where people are really wordsy and they have an English accent. In my head, I'm like, this fucker thinks he's better than me. So I'm fighting that with myself. So
Jeez Louise. That's a you problem, bro.
How it is, man.
Oh man,
Oh man. Josh, what do you got?
So this movie, I think back when it came out, probably didn't impress me nearly as much because I think I hadn't read the graphic novel at the time. And I think that, you know, it was kind of touted, at least in some ways, as being a superhero flick. And so when I went to watch it, it really wasn't very super, right? We don't see V doing like tremendous things. I mean, yeah, he's stronger and he's faster and somehow he sees without eyes, but you don't really get a sense of anything like absolutely heroic about it. And so I remember being somewhat disappointed by it back then. But over the years, I've gained a pretty good appreciation for it. And I think when it comes to all of the points in our rating system, I think it easily scores a 2, with the one exception perhaps being influence. But I would actually give it a 2 in that category now, just because of how much this movie, the plot narrative, mirrors what's going on in our culture today. I don't want to steal any of Liz's thunder, but there were several times during the movie where she's like, "That's what's happening right now. That's what's happening right now." So for me, this is a 10, dude. This is a 10.
Hell yeah. Liz, bring some of that thunder.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. It's got everything. It's got the love story that all the chicks dig. It's got the action, and it's well written, well directed, well acted. And this is gonna carry on for generations. I think every so often somebody's gonna stumble across it and they're gonna see it and they're gonna realize what's going on and see that it's a historical piece, you know. And yeah, I mean, the things it applies today. I mean, the book was written in the 80s, 20 years ago, and it's basically
God, that's almost 40 years ago, sweetheart.
40 years ago. I like to pretend my age. Okay, give a girl a break here. And it's almost like he got into a time machine and saw what was going to happen in the future and predicted it. Yeah, it's just the players are a little different here and there depending on what side of the fence that you're on, type thing. But yeah, this movie is perfect, and I'll watch it even if it's not the 5th of November. I'll watch it every week. I'll watch it at any time somebody says, "Let's watch V." Okay, like yeah, that's all.
Don't make such promises because I'll make you do it.
Oh, and I'll do it every time. I absolutely love this movie. It's a 10 for me.
Mr. V.
I give this a 10. It's good. It's a really good movie. I enjoy it every time I watch it. It's probably like my 6th time watching it, and each time it's still good. I'm hooked the whole time, and the book's just as good as the book. It's not as long as the book, but it's right up there. So 10.
Nice, very good. And Mr. Vargas, take us home.
I give it 2 V's, 2 5s for a W. It's a win. It's for all the same reasons that you guys say and more too. I think just the idea of preserving every bit of history that you can, even when it's not, the most flattering history. I think all of that's important. They touch on that, with the Nazi paraphernalia that the guy's saving and everything. It's important to remember all those things. And we've touched upon it here too, where we don't want to forget those things. We need to remember them. Doesn't need to be in our faces, but we do need to remember it. I think it's sad that more people have seen the movie than read the book, but nonetheless, I still take that as a win because the adaptation is pretty well done. So it's 10 out of 10 for me.
All right, pretty high ratings from everybody. Hope you enjoyed our review of the film, and we're going back to the wheel next week. So catch us on the Talking Ish. Peace.